Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Megan Shepherd. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping news, former Grand Bahama parliamentarian Cornelius C.A. Smith officially sworn in today as acting Governor General. Family and friends gathered at the Government House for the brief ceremony. Also on hand for the occasion, Prime Minister, the Honorable Dr. Hubert Minnis, and other government ministers. Humbled by the honor, the acting Governor General, who lives on Grand Bahama, urged Bahamians to unite in love and service to country. He noted that a commitment to these principles will carry the country further along the road of sovereignty and prosperity. Now, the new deputy to the Governor General, Ambassador His Excellency C.A. Smith, is weighing in on efforts to restore Grand Bahama's economy. Tonight, he's expressing optimism about the island's future. Sabrina Brown reports.
Bahamas Ambassador to Central America, His Excellency C.A. Smith, says he's satisfied that the government is working aggressively to turn Grand Bahama's economy around, and he's optimistic that residents will soon see results.
I think that Grand Bahama is just on the cusp of a new and dynamic revolution economically. I just happen to be privy to a lot of information with respect to what the government plans to do, what negotiations are going on, where we are in respect of these negotiations, and I feel very good about the future.
His Excellency Smith says he recently visited Panama to meet with the president for high-level discussions on new trade agreements between the two countries.
We had long discussions about how we can utilize the port of Grand Bahama and the canal in Panama, with all the trade that goes between those ports and the international world. How can we better use those to ensure that we get more of that for Grand Bahama? And there are discussions in this respect, and I believe that they're going to turn out to be very fruitful for Grand Bahama particularly.
While the government focuses on economic restoration, Ambassador Smith believes greater emphasis must also be placed on providing opportunities for the nation's youth.
We have to do more because we have a real new world out there. Our kids are no longer competing for jobs or for opportunities in the Bahamas. They're competing on the world stage. It's a global village today. And so the responsibility of the government today is to make sure that our kids of today are given the opportunity to exist and compete successfully in the global village that we have.
He's calling on Bahamians to unite for one common goal as the country moves forward.
All of we is one. We have to get back to being civil with one another, being respectful of one another, and being respectful of our country and our country's heritage.
Sabrina Brown, ZNS Network News.
In other news, a restructured Marco alert system has been launched. The system is expected to fine-tune the activation of urgent bulletins in serious child abduction cases. The pilot program is expected to be tested over the next 3 months. Tonight, a human rights activist is giving his take on this move. Italia Hall reports.
This new system will be able to send mass notifications to the public on their cell phones, emails, and social media accounts. Messages that are sent will be from the Royal Bahamas Police Force. Authorities say the new system will be timely and will focus on eliminating fake news. Now, you may remember, 11-year-old Marco Archer of New Providence disappeared and did not return home from school almost 7 years ago. A few days later, his body was found in bushes. It was reported that authorities told his relatives that they had to wait 24 hours before they investigate. A part of the Marco Alert system was first introduced in 2016. The then Commissioner of Police Ellison Greenslade issued a force order that required officers to bypass the 24-hour requirement to report a missing person. Vice President of Rights Bahamas says this new system is long overdue and commended the government for the move.
There should be not even 1 hour lapse between the time a child apparently goes missing and there's an alert put out there, because serious harm can befall a child, particularly a child who may be leaving school, on the way home, going down alleys.
But he says it's important that the authorities gauge exactly how information is disseminated and received.
Whether or not there's going to be a special number for that, like 911 or 9999 or whatever, and that there be a recording of every bit of information so that you do not have pranks.
Now, in order to receive these alerts, persons must register by emailing Marco's Alert at rbpf.bs or by visiting www.royalbahamaspoliceforce.org. But Darville says he disagrees with that method. It should be automatic that every BTC or a live phone user receives an alert without signing up.
In the United States, even when you're driving down the highway, if there's a child missing, there is the Amber Alert. We should have a similar system in place, but I would want to know immediately if there's a child gone missing, or a child may have been molested, and therefore the alert is on my phone. The moment I get out the road and looking around, I may be able to detect and find that child.
The human rights activist says going forward, attention must be placed on a sexual offenders registry, especially for cases that involve children. Reporting for ZNS Network News, I'm Natalia Hall.
Switching gears now, a youth leader is proposing a gun amnesty period. This after statistics were read in the House of Assembly and a Minister of Government classified Grand Bahama as the gun capital of the Bahamas. As Shashina Wolf-Farquharson tells us, a youth leader says the time for action is now.
A startling revelation coming from the Minister of Health, Dr. Dwayne Sands, who noted in the House of Assembly that while Grand Bahama is known as the industrial capital of the country, it is also being called the gun capital of the Bahamas in terms of firearm violence and shootings. Dr. Sands reported that the island has a shooting ratio of 94% per capita, surpassing that of New Providence and even the United States of America. Youth leader Dudley Said says that this report is shocking.
We have a gun issue, and I still say we need to change the law, basically, because I personally feel if you ride with a bunch of guys in a car and they realize the fine is $10,000, they can make sure the person who's driving that vehicle don't have a gun in that car. So I think we need to revisit that, because we're losing too much of our young men by guns. It's almost back like in the 80s when you used to get a cutlass and bottle. Now it's gun.
He says now is the time for serious action to be taken, and that an amnesty period that involves the churches and parents could be the key.
They need to have it at a church that people can trust, when no police is around, and just bring it to a pastor that you're comfortable with, and let's see we get some of these guns off the streets in our country. We have to bind together and find a way to ask parents, if your child is, committing crime or illegal activities, we need to turn in those guns.
In 2011, the Ingram administration held a month-long gun amnesty. At the end of that initiative, 75 illegal firearms and nearly 5,000 rounds of ammunition were turned into authorities. In 2015, the then Minister of National Security, Dr. Bernard Nottage, said that the government was considering implementing a gun amnesty period, even though he believed that the previous ones were not successful. But Said is convinced that this will take a community effort.
I keep on saying this, and I don't know if no one listening. We have a crisis. When you have gangs and gangs killing, then you can put a handle on it. Now we have a robbery. So anytime you see a robbery, that may have went to another level. Anytime there's a cause, the pastors, I think, it is on them, really, to say, hey, listen, we have to band together. Let's stop this.
Shishina Farkason, ZNS Network News.
You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Stay with us. There's more news right after this break.
A born here. Happy Independence, Bahamas.
Bahamas for independence, independent Bahamas.